Hello friends, today you will learn another important literary aspect from your textbook, the horizon. So far we have completed 4 lessons from the textbook, the horizon. Now in this class, you will come to know about poetry section, and there are a couple of poems which are prescribed by the university. One is The Dog, and the another one is A Poison Tree. Friends, before I begin with poetry section, I would like to talk in general about the jar of poetry. Probably you might have heard the name of a renowned poet, William Wordsworth, who wrote lyrical ballads with his friend S.T. Coleridge. And the book, which was published in 1798, was provided with a preface. And that preface was written by William Wordsworth. Of course, I'm not going to discuss the entire preface over here. My purpose to refer to the preface to lyrical ballads written by William Wordsworth is to let you know the famous definition of poetry as introduced by William Wordsworth. In fact, that was the beginning of Romanticism in literature. The kind of poetry written before the introduction of Romanticism was bound to certain rules and regulations. And this romantic concept, as introduced by William Wordsworth in this preface, has really changed the entire literary scenario. According to Wordsworth, poetry is nothing but a spontaneous overflow of powerful feelings in tranquil state of mind. See how beautifully and in a very easy language William Wordsworth has defined poetry as a jar of literature. He said, poetry is nothing but a spontaneous overflow. What do you mean by spontaneous? Spontaneous means something that is very much natural, something that happens very naturally without any artificiality. If you see the sprout of a seed there in the soil, in a couple of days or so, you find that the sprouted seed is gradually and very naturally growing into a very tiny plant. That is the very spontaneous and natural growth. Here, Wordsworth says, poetry is nothing but a spontaneous overflow of powerful feelings. See, after using the word spontaneous, he talks about the flow of powerful feelings. You know, a man called a poet has so many emotions, feelings, observations, experiences, something personal, something impersonal, so on and so on, that he can utilize while making poetry, while writing poetry. So Wordsworth says, poetry is nothing but the spontaneous overflow of powerful feelings in tranquil state of mind. See, the state of mind should be cool, calm, tranquil. Then only you can express your powerful feelings, that too very naturally, that too very spontaneously, without any artificial touch. The beauty of this definition is, number one, spontaneity, number two, powerful feelings, and number three, tranquil state of mind, tranquility. These three words, or this sort of combination, is really making this particular definition as the most acceptable definition in the world. On the contrary, you have a modern playwright, a famous critic, writer, T.S. Eliot, who wrote an essay, Tradition and Individual Talent. And he introduced his impersonal theory of poetry. While writing in this particular context, T.S. Eliot said, poetry is not at all a spontaneous overflow. It is not at all the overflow of powerful feelings, and that does not need any sort of tranquility at all. On the other hand, Eliot said, poetry is a deliberate activity. See the contradiction of ideas as promoted by these two poets. Of course, William Wordsworth is considered to be the greatest ever nature poet. And T.S. Eliot also wrote so many poems, very famous poems like The Westland, Four Quatrains, and so on. Both are the poets, but presenting the totally contradictory ideas. One says poetry is a spontaneous overflow. Another says poetry is a deliberate activity. One says poetry should really come up so spontaneously and naturally without any artificiality. The other says you can go to the library, read a number of books of poems, and you can compose of your own, since it is a deliberate activity. Anyway, I'm not going to bring you all into the discussion and the kind of contradiction as created by these two poets. If you really get into this, you will find that both the poets, what I personally think, are absolutely right. As far as their stands are concerned, both are right. You might have heard about a proverb in Marathi. जे जे जाणतो रवी ते ते जाणतो कवी. Since we are the part of the solar system and the sun rays reach out to each and every planet which is the part and parcel of the system. Hence, the stand that of Wordsworth is very clear enough that unless you have the poetic sensibility, which is the blessings of the nature, you cannot compose poetry. But on the other hand, you have T.S. Eliot, who said, since poetry is a deliberate activity for him, if you keep yourself in the domain of poetry, keeps on reading poems and poems one after the other, what he says, automatically you also start writing poetry. And that's why I said, I think both are absolutely right as far as their stand in this respect is concerned. And if you want, you can try it. Now let us think about the poem which is prescribed in our syllabus. The poet that we are going to learn is a very big name in the realm of literature. That is Rabindranath Tagore. I think no introduction is required to this great man who has written the national anthem of a couple of countries. As you know, Jana Gana Mana is written by Rabindranath Tagore, the national anthem of India. And he has also written the national anthem of Bangladesh. Rabindranath Tagore, who is also called as Thakur, especially the Bengali people call him Rabindranath Thakur. He was born on 7th of May 1861 and died on 7th of August 1941. Unfortunately, he could not breathe in the independent India. All over the world, he is called as Gurudev. A few people also called him, or even today call him, especially in Bengali, Kabi Guru. Bengalis also call him Biswa Kabi. So these are the different titles which are given to Rabindranath Tagore in the course of his lifetime. Of course, he was a person of wide learning and knowledge. And in a very short period of time, he came up to the world map as a great poet, writer, playwright, composer, philosopher, social reformer, and a genuine great painter. Actually, most of his writings are available in Bengali language. But afterwards, when he realized and requested by many that he should also write in English, then he translated most of his literature, and then he came up to the map of English literature, that too at the international level. As I said, he had an expertise in many fields like music, literature, painting, philosophy, theosophy, and so on and so on. But his most important contribution to the world is in the form of poetry. He wrote a renowned collection of poems titled as Gitanjali. That means in English, songs offering. And this collection of poems was admired, appreciated throughout the world. And of course, due to this glorification of his poetry, he was awarded Nobel Prize in Literature in 1930. Actually, Rabindranath Tagore began writing poetry at the age of 8. Just imagine a boy who is at the age of 8 composing poetry. That is something really extraordinary. And I think here, Wordsworth's theory of poetry is more suitable, because he said, poetry is the spontaneous overflow of powerful feelings in tranquil state of mind. And you have to have a poetic genius by birth. You have to have a poetic sensibility as blessed by the nature. And here in the context of Rabindranath Tagore, what I feel, he was blessed by nature with the poetic sensibility. At the age of 16, Rabindranath Tagore published his first collection of poems, and that was, of course, appreciated and admired a lot. If you look at his entire career as a great literary figure, you will find that there are about 50 collections of poems going to his credit. And of course, most of them, as I said before, are written in Bengali. There are numerous novels, a number of short stories. His philosophical implications and writings are also giving him a different touch as a literary figure. Many of these have been translated into English by Tagore himself. And moreover, I would like to add on the most important thing in the respect of Tagore, that he was invited by so many European countries, Western nations, to deliver lectures on arts, philosophy, religion, painting, literature, and so on and so on. As a matter of fact, if you really go through his poetry and other literary creed, you will find that he was a humanist and always supported the cause of the independence of India from the clutches of the British. He introduced new styles of prose and verse, promoted the use of colloquial language in Bengali literature, and so many literary and social reforms were also introduced by Rabindranath Tagore in his lifetime. Even today, we always label him as a great educationist. He realized that the Britishers have changed the entire educational system in India to their requirement, and that's why he wanted to have his own school and wanted to implement his own educational ideas and methods. He also established Shantiniketan, which is not only the abode of peace, but the genuine abode of pedagogy. So many of his songs are there, which have been set to music by himself. There are a few notable songs also, which have been adopted by a couple of countries at the national anthems. As I said before, the national anthem of India and that of Bangladesh are written by Rabindranath Tagore. If you really go through his literary creed, you will find that there is an appeal to all the human beings living on this planet, and he is making the appeal of universalism. He talks about humanity. He talks about human values in general and always promotes that the people should consider others around. As I said, his literary creeds, especially Gitanjali, which is also called as song offerings, Gora, which was later translated as fair-faced. Another one is also there, that is Dhare Baire, the home and the world. These are some of the well-known translations done by Rabindranath Tagore. His lyricism, naturalism, universalism, humanism are some of the major concerns of his writings. If you really see his entire literary contribution, you will find that he was such a multifaceted personality that he contributed to the field of drama, short stories, novels, poetry, and so on and so on. So almost all the literary genres which were famous during his time were tried by, and that too successfully, Rabindranath Tagore. In fact, you need a lot of time to talk in general about Rabindranath Tagore as a poet, as a literary figure, as a man of human and universal values, and so on and so on. But with this much of introduction to this great personality, I just put a pause here. And now I would like to talk about the present poem, which is titled as This Dog, written by Rabindranath Tagore. If you really see, there are so many animals that we find around ourselves. There are some domestic animals, pet animals, you have wild animals, so on and so on. But the common animals like dogs, cats, horses, birds, fishes, snakes, mice, so on and so on, you will realize that these are the common subjects of the writings of so many poets, not only from India, but from all over the world. You have Thomas Gray, who wrote an ode on the death of a favorite cat. You have a very famous poet, William Blake, who wrote a poem on tiger. I hope you still remember. Tiger, tiger, burning bright in the forest of the night. Probably some of you might have studied this poem in your schooling. And these are some of the famous examples of this kind. And these poets look at many animals and they see them as the metaphors for human beings. See, this is the beauty of their approach. And discussing on the same lines, you have the great Indian poet writing in Bengali and English, Rabindranath Tagore, who wrote the poem, This Dog. Mind it well, the title is also very apt and suggestive. He is not saying that dog. He says, this dog. And this dog is a poem. As you know very well, most of the poems are written by him in Bengali. And so this poem is also written by him in Bengali first and later transcreated by Kumud Biswas, one of his associates, who translated or transcreated, instead of saying translated, transcreated this poem in Bengali. It is the 14th poem in the collection of poetry written by or published by Rabindranath Tagore in 1940, and the collection was known as Arogya. Of course, this is a Sanskrit word, or this is also a Bengali word. It is also used in Marathi and Hindi. Arogya, to talk about your health. So, this collection of poetry has the universal appeal and charm. Earlier also I talked about this, that Tagore's poetry has the universal appeal and the focus on human values. It was actually written in the later years of Tagore's life, and during the final years of his life before death, just a few years or so, just before a few years or so. During the final years of his life, Rabindranath Tagore used to take his breakfast at Shanti Niketan almost every morning. He used to sit there in the veranda, and there was a dog that usually comes to Tagore, sits beside him, and always gives him a company. So this poem is based on the experience that Rabindranath Tagore had every day in the company of a stray dog. As I said, first it is mentioned as a stray dog, but later on that dog becomes this dog. And there is a big difference in the terminology as used. So almost every day, whenever Tagore used to sit there in the veranda of Shanti Niketan, having his breakfast, the stray dog used to come and sit near him very patiently, especially at his feet. And of course, Tagore used to share some foodstuff, especially a few slices of bread and a cup of tea or milk. Whatever he used to have in his own breakfast, the same was also being shared with the dog. And what happens later? The dog started regularly coming right on time whenever Tagore used to sit over there in the veranda and having his breakfast. But mind it well, one speciality, that of the dog, we need to recognize. The dog did not touch the bread unless it was offered and really buttered. It means, just if at all you offer him a piece of bread, the dog never had it unless it was buttered. Because Tagore used to do the same. Tagore and this dog became the great friends in a short period of time. And if at all, some or the other time, there is the absence of the dog, Tagore used to feel restless and he used to ask his attendants to search the dog and bring the dog to him at the time of the breakfast. So what happened? In a very short period of time, there was a great attachment between Rabindranath Tagore and the stray dog. And the present poem that you are going to learn, which is titled as This Dog, is of course dedicated to the stray dog that used to come to Rabindranath Tagore at Shantiniketan and gave him a great company.